and welcome back to Tim Rodey Rides Motorbikes. I'm Tim, and the motorbike what I've been riding this week is the Aprilia Tuono V4, the non-factory version. Now, I was curious to test this because I think that us motorcyclists can be a masochistic bunch who put bling above comfort, and that's why you see more Tuono factories than non-factories. So anyway, I wanted to find out if this slightly more comfortable V4 Tuono is the better bike. I've been riding it for a week, I've done some miles on it, and I'm going to tell you what I think for what it's worth, which is not very much. Yes, here it is, the lesser spotted Aprilia Tuono V4 non-factory. I say lesser spotted because I'm pretty sure this doesn't sell as much as the factory version. All I see is factory versions. But anyway, this is £2,500 cheaper than the top spec Tuono V4. It's 15.5 grand this, but I've actually been on the Aprilia website today and they've done a classic thing of just slashing £1,000 off the price for some reason. I think there's a sale on. So at the moment you can get one for £14,650. You can get this in white or this sexily named tarmac grey. It is sort of grey, isn't it? Like that tarmac. So well done Italy for naming it well. But anyway, that's about the colours. Let's talk about the differences between this and the factory version. The first, most noticeable one is it doesn't have the electronic Ohlins EC2 suspension. This has got manually adjustable Sachs suspension. It also has, you've probably noticed, a little bit of a screen, quite a bit more of a screen than the regular Tuono V4 factory. I know people say that's not really a naked bike because there's so much plastic. This has got even more plastic on it. Yippee! This has also got higher handlebars that are set slightly differently to the ones on the factory. It's got a slightly different seat. It's got a very different pillion seat, much bigger with grab handles, and it also has lower pillion pegs, just so you can actually take people on the back without them crippling themselves, frankly. It's also got a longer 6th gear. It's got slightly different riding modes as far as I can tell. It hasn't got the track ones, but it's still got 3 and customizable ones, and the tyres are different as well. It's on Pirelli Diablo Rosso 3s as opposed to kind of track focus Super Corsa SPs, but that's kind of it really. It's still got the same engine, which is the big deal, and we'll get onto that in a minute. Let's talk about the looks, and I'm going to start at the back because this swing arm gives me the horn. It is a beautiful thing. You get this M-shaped tail light. I'll cut in a shot of that actually lit up because it does just look like the Batman symbol. I don't know who are trying to kid. I like the winglets down here. They're all fared in. So yeah, it's got a bit of MotoGP aeroness going on, which is quite cool. But otherwise, it's pretty much the same as the V4 Tuono factory. I really like what Aprilia is doing with their daytime running lights at the moment as well. It just gives this bike a kind of mean light signature, makes it easily recognizable out on the road. But yeah, let's talk about the engine because it is really the heart of this bike and half the reason I would buy one. It's the 1077cc 65-degree V4. It's got 175 horsepower, 121 Newton meters, and it drinks out of a tank that's just under 18 litres, and I've been getting 48 mpg mostly on the motorways up here today. So yeah, I feel like the early ones of these did 30 mpg no matter what you did. So this is Euro 5 now, and yeah, you could probably actually do a bit of touring on this now. Now, as with most Aprilias, there are a couple of options you can put on this bike. There's not a huge accessories catalogue. The main one is the Akrapovic slip-on exhaust, which this bike doesn't have because it's 3 grand. But I know towards the end of the year, Aprilia dealers often start throwing it in for free. And there's an optional seat, which is £128 for a gel seat, which is just a bit more comfortable, I would have thought. This one's all right, but I still got a numb bum after a couple of 100 miles this morning. There's the dash. It's really straightforward, easy to use. You can go through your trips, your odo. It has got the old school thing where it will show you your top speed, so just be wary and remember to clear that if you've been a naughty person. And it has got a fuel gauge, but as far as I can tell, no range readout, and you can customize all your modes and everything as well, so you can adjust your throttle map, your engine braking, the traction control, the wheelie control, the launch control, and the ABS as well. And unlike that Touareg I rode the other day, it actually explains what the acronyms are down there. There we go. Maybe the Touareg did have that and I just missed it because I'm an idiot. But yeah, it's super simple. You've got the cruise control, and this also adjusts the anti-wheelie control when you're on the move, and these little paddles you can use to adjust the traction control on the move, so you don't have to stop to do any of that. And the switch gear is alright, it feels nice enough and it all works super easily. But let's go for a ride and find out what this bike's actually like. Right, let's hop on the Tuono V4 and go for a ride, and apologies if my audio sounds a bit weird. I'm trying something different with it. But yeah, first impressions when you jump on this bike are that it's still got quite an aggressive riding position. The bars still put you in a almost bit of a race tuck, you're just a bit leant forward, and the pegs are pretty high still. They're the same position as on the factory version as far as I can tell. So yeah, it is, if you're a tall bloke, a slightly cramped bike, but I do fit it, and the cutouts in the tank feel quite old school and quite sexy, and my legs fit into them quite well, and it fires into life with not as much of a roar as you might think, but a few blips of the throttle do hint at what is to come, because it's got basically no flywheel, it's just got no inertia. It revs so damn quickly, is a pretty wonderful thing. Let's talk quickly about some boring practical stuff, because this is a slightly practical version of the Tuono, isn't it? The mirrors are pretty good. The engine, because it's so smooth, the mirrors never become a vibey mess. It is just lovely. It is a bit chuntery, almost like an old Ducati V-twin. At low revs, you'll want to be in first gear below 20 miles an hour, and it can catch you out occasionally when you come up to a roundabout, and you'll need to be a gear lower than you think. First gear rips to like a lot, 70 or 80 miles an hour, so you'll find yourself downshifting into first at 50 miles an hour on a fast country road ride. Second gear takes you pretty much to 100-ish, I think, probably a bit more. It is long geared, and it does encourage you to rev it out, because as we're going to find out, it sounds so flipping good. Oh, it's so fast. The electronics, yeah, the electronics, they're very good. In sport mode, with wheelie control set, so I think I'm on about 5, it does a great job of keeping the front wheel down. Oh no, my anti-wheelie's on 2. It will still try and keep the front wheel down. Put it on 1, it will come up a fair bit more. But it all feels exciting and manageable, not scary. And that is really my favourite thing about this bike, is just how it lets you flow down a road on that smooth power, smooth electronics, going very quickly if you want to. But there's not a scary side to it, other than the speed and the fact that the front will come up in 3rd gear and well into 3 figures if you want it to. It is, I don't know, it's just a very smooth operator, with a big hairy axe. I don't know if you have hairy axes, I don't know. It's quite a violent feeling, the acceleration. What I do enjoy is there's a hard bit at the front of the pillion seat which kind of wedges you in, and there is a direct correlation between your throttle opening and that prodding you in the back. So it's like, I don't know, it's like a tailbone massage by wire. You twist this and your tailbone gets prodded, and it's the sort of acceleration on this bike that does make your neck compress a bit. It is so quick, it is sodding rapid, and people might say, you know, 175 horsepower, that's not really up there with the super naked class anymore. Everything's got 200, 210. I don't know, I just think this is way more than fast enough, and it has got way more soul than that Ducati Street Fighter V4. Yeah, I probably can get some stick for saying that, but hey, it is what it is. Let's go and do some more stuff. There's the front coming up in second. That's about 60 and a bit. Yeah, the quick shifter and blipper on this, they're worth noting because they are super slick, super smooth, and obviously the down blipper, you're not going to be able to hear it because the wind noise and because the exhaust is quite quiet, is so smooth. It's just really satisfying to use. You feel like Jorge Martin or someone I should probably have used an Aprilia rider, shouldn't I? The ride, yeah, we should talk about the ride, the suspension. It is pretty good. It is still sports bike, It's got a sports bike edge to it. It is a bit firm, so you won't think, oh, I've got on some big floaty sports tourer thing. You will think I'm on a bike that has the chassis of a super bike, and the turn-in and the confidence it gives you is phenomenal. I have to say the only downside for me this morning at 6 AM was it took a while to get some heat into those Rosso 3 tyres, and I had a tiny slide from the front end and a few from the back end as well, but electronics looking after me for the back end ones on the gas anyway. But yeah, it just, I don't know if the tyre pressures are wrong, but it just took a while to get some faith in them. Now the only downside in the chassis department really for me is the brake feel. It feels a bit like the ABS kicks in a tad too earlier, or something is happening at the lever which feels a bit jittery and like it isn't, I don't know, as smooth as it should be on the brakes, but that could just be this particular bike. It's okay, they certainly do the job, they can stop you really, really quickly. They just don't feel as smooth and as part of the riding experience as the rest of it. The rest of it gels together, the engine, the electronics, all feels like it's trying to help you go quickly and be your friend with excitement, as I've said, but the brakes just a bit, I feel like they need a little bit more work. Oh no, a corner. Yeah, I said it's long geared, but it is super tractable, and it is a lovely feeling waking up that V4 low in the revs in second gear. I'm just ringing it out. It is monstrous. You do get the hazard lights flashing when you brake hard. That's an Aprilia thing. They all do it, so it just makes you look like a bit of a CVT novice when you start braking. I mean, before someone goes to the comments and says, is this a good first bike? It's probably not, to be honest. The electronics will look after you, but you won't enjoy it. Hello sheep, I hope you like the sound of Italian V4s that aren't made by Ducati, because this sounds so much better than the Ducati V4. And I'm just going to talk about the noise a bit more, if you'll forgive me, dear viewer, because it would honestly, it's so special on this bike, it's almost a reason to buy the bike on its own. It's just encouraging. I have to say, I really don't like that brake feel, but maybe I'm just being a wuss. Yeah, the noise is, it's hard to describe how nice the noise is, and it won't come across on YouTube, but it is just magical. The way it changes timbre, I guess, if I'm going to be poncy, across the rev range. It sounds great everywhere, and that, I guess on YouTube you'll just get the exciting high revvy bit, but you know, even at 5,000 RPM, if you just, it's just got a complexity and a smoothness to it that makes me just, I don't know, want to ride. Yeah, and combine that with the chassis, everything else apart from the brakes, which are really getting on my nerves today, and it does just put you in this weird MotoGP on the road on a naked, comfortable bike with a screen frame of mind, which I realise is a very, very niche frame of mind to be put in. But what a thing, what a thing. If you jumped on this, bought one of these, I don't think for a second you would regret not getting the factory. Sure, I think the factory is a little bit more comfortable just in day-to-day use over stuff like this, but it's £2.5 grand, man. I'd rather keep £2.5 grand. This adds a lot more in the riding position. This, I don't know, that puts the wind onto my chest rather than my head, but that's fine. Yeah, I just prefer the slightly higher bars. I remember when you got on the Tuono, after something like a Super Duke, the Tuono feels like you're basically on an RSV4. It doesn't feel much different, the riding position, you haven't got clip-ons. So yeah, that's a pretty boring conclusion, I guess. I probably sound like an old man, but I am an old man. I would probably put super coursers back on this though. That is another thing. I really, this morning at least, I'm not getting on with these tyres as much as I did last week. Oh yeah, the back brake is not that strong either. It works better than on my old Ducati 1198, but that's not saying an awful lot. If I was going to level one criticism at this otherwise beautiful, sonorous, wonderful engine, it would be that to really feel like it's coming alive, you need to be doing faster than 60 miles an hour. I think I said that in my first impressions video, and it's still true. And I think the one bike that really does nail that real world
The excitement of road speeds is the Super G car. That's still very fast, and don't get me wrong, that'll break the speed limits in the blink of a badger's quim, but it's just got more instant shove and naughtiness at 40, 50, 60 miles an hour. Anyway, I've waffled on way too long about this bike. Let's get back and do an outro, and I'll try and conclude and sum up my thoughts on the Tuono non-factory. Fueling is really good as well. I didn't say that. The low down fueling is super crisp, and you're never really wondering how much power you're going to get around town. It is delightful. Whoever does the electronic stuff at Aprilia, they should have a pay rise. Look at all this gravel, yummy.
So if I was to stand awkwardly next to an Aprilia Tuono V4 non-factory to give my concluding thoughts, what would I say? Well, it's a bloomin' brilliant bike, and to answer the question you're probably thinking, I would save my £2,600 and get this over the factory version, just because this does more comfortable, better stuff for me. I like having a little screen, I like having a slightly more relaxed riding position, and it is a small bike and I'm a tall bloke, so this does give you a bit more wiggle room, a bit more room to move on the seat, all that kind of stuff. However, the factory version in a winter sale, nearly new, might be actually closer in price to this anyway, so that's a little dilemma you have to have for yourself. But I do love this bike. It's got a hooligan streak a mile wide. It's kind of up there with the KTM Super G car in terms of nuttiness, but you're going quite a bit faster on this by the time you're having that nuttiness. So for me, I'd still pick the KTM for road riding, but this is a very close second. It is a brilliant thing. That engine is super soulful. The chassis is immense. It gives you so much feedback, so much confidence to hoon it around. I think from memory though, and it has been a year since I rode the factory version, the factory is a bit more comfortable on broken tarmac than this. Obviously it's got the electronic suspension. This is a bit more direct and a bit more pitter-pattery, but it's marginal, frankly. So yeah, I would still pick this over the factory. It's a great bike. They are both great bikes. If you've got an Aprilia dealer near you, unlike me, go and buy one. Anyway, hopefully this has been helpful. Thank you ever so much for watching. Please like this video if it has been helpful, and also go and subscribe because there's plenty more of this waffling coming soon. And go down to the comments and call me the Italian word for a slug, because one just crawled into my helmet and it wasn't very nice.